Hey Weather Warriors, in this video I'm going to give you the details on a potentially powerful winter storm that could track across the west coast and northern and midwestern United States here as we head towards the 15th through about the 18th or so of February. That's into next week. It's something I've been watching. It looks pretty powerful in some areas, particularly for the northwestern United States. But before we begin, click the subscribe button below if you like detailed forecasts like this, much more detailed than you'd see on TV. And comment below, have you seen any snowfall this winter yet? So let's just get right into it here. What we're going to look at first is this wave that's coming on. This is the next snowstorm as we get into next week. I want to show you where it's at here. This is the vorticity in the atmosphere, kind of the energy. We'll look at the snowfall amounts and all that later in a second here, but this is the thing you want to watch here. It's a trough out here, a nice little piece of energy indicated by the GFS computer model, and the European's even crazier. Now, this thing moves onshore, and you can see it's rather deep. So it extends from about Washington all the way into California. So nice long wave that's moving onshore. So it should be pretty widespread across the west coast of the United States, delivering several inches of snow in some areas. Now the question is, how far to the east will this advance? Well, it's continuing to advance to the east on the 19th or so. You can see this big wave here in the central United States, but it's really kind of spread out. There's spread out pieces of energy, so it does not look overly powerful in the GFS. It does gain ground, though, as it moves into the east coast. So this is something we're definitely going to have to watch, but it's very spread out. So like this type of look is just indicating more of a warm type of look with lots of rain out ahead of it along a cold front. But if we can get some wrapping within this thing, it could be a big snowstorm. So we'll have to watch that. But what we're going to do is we're going to focus in on the west coast of the United States. Then we're going to track it to the east. So what I'm going to do is zoom in, and we're going to use the European computer model. It's more impressive with this system. Here we go. So this is around the 14th. A little wave moves in. What we're going to do is we're going to go around the 15th when this main wave starts to move in. This is around Oregon and Washington right now, and the low pressure system is sitting off to the northwest. This is going to move in. You can see the rain to snow line right here, kind of near the mountains. Now, to the west of this, there's going to be a lot of snow. This includes Oregon, Washington, Oregon, California, Nevada, Utah, Wyoming, Idaho, and Montana in particular. Okay, so this is going to really affect these areas in the upper elevations in particular. You can see just a river of moisture slashing onto the shores here, and it just keeps spraying this area with precipitation. Now, this is towards Sunday, this 15th and 16th or so. You can see some very potent, heavy bands of snow, potentially 2 to 3 inches an hour up there in the mountains, and rain out ahead of it along the shore. But there is widespread snow all across the northwestern United States as we head towards Sunday. Here it goes, Monday, especially in the upper elevations, Sunday into Monday. Low pressure out here, kind of nebulous, but maybe sitting out here in Idaho and Wyoming. But snow all across the northwestern United States as we head towards Sunday afternoon. And as this goes out into Sunday evening into Monday morning, it starts to weaken, but it moves out into the high plains of parts of Montana, Wyoming, and Colorado. Then kind of dies out after that. Then you get a couple more waves as well. But several inches of snow. We're going to look at, just for fun, the amounts. This is way too early to be looking at these for an official forecast. But this has been pretty consistent. And you can see the European computer model is forecasting several inches of snow, especially in mountainous regions of Oregon and Washington. Obviously 2, 3, 4 feet of snow with this type of event. Some areas probably 40, 50 inches. And then obviously as you get towards the western part of Washington into Idaho, a couple feet of snow out there into Montana as well. A couple feet of snow in western parts of Wyoming and Utah as well. Even some snow in northwest Nevada, several inches up there, and then also lots in Colorado. So this looks like a great skiing period for the northwestern United States. Several inches of snow. Obviously, you guys get that often, but this does look more potent than some of the other storms we have been seeing so far. Now, what we're going to look at now is the rest of the track of this system, and as it gets into the north central United States, into the Midwest, and even the East Coast. The European computer model is much different than the GFS. Here, what we're going to do is we're going to turn on the precipitation amounts, And what I'm going to do is look at the GFS first, then we'll flip it over to the Euro. And so we'll look at that storm come on. There it is in the northwestern United States on Sunday into Monday. GFS is a little bit slower, it looks like. But this is Monday now. The low pressure system is now sitting in the plains Monday morning over Kansas, around Hays, Kansas or so. Here's that low pressure system. High pressure system up in southern Canada. And this is actually moving to the south, so this is going to kind of intersect with this low and kind of re-strengthen things. There's a high out here in the east coast. There's going to be a lot of cold air. So lots of snow in the northern parts of the United States, from Colorado, Wyoming, parts of Montana, and then spotty snow showers in North Dakota and Minnesota and Wisconsin. But the question is, will this be a big storm as this pulls out to the east? You know, as I was talking about, the energy actually re-strengthens as that high pressure system comes to the south as we head towards the 18th or so, Tuesday morning. But it is flat on the GFS. It's not really wrapped around, and you can see that indicated by the precipitation here. You know, you got a cold front, really sharp cold front, really strong temperature gradient, very windy here in Nebraska, the plains, really, northern plains. But really all the moisture and the energy is out ahead of that cold front in the warm sector. So a lot of that's just being used up as rain, and it's a flat type of look. So this is not a classic winter storm on the GFS. The European's a little bit different. We'll go over that in a second. But you can see a little bit of leftover snow in Colorado here Tuesday. And also, if you get far enough north, eventually that rain will change to snow, and you're starting to get that where there has been lots of cold air just sitting up here in southern Canada and the farther northern tier of the United States towards Minnesota, Wisconsin, and even Michigan, as there's high pressures kind of surrounding that area. So definitely a chance of snow around there in the upper Midwest. This moves to the east. This moves to the east as we head towards Wednesday the 19th. You can see very spread out type of system still, though, and the snow is suppressed all the way up towards Maine and southern Canada, and that long, big, giant, widespread area of rain extends all the way down to Mexico. So very long, elongated system with probably a nice Arctic blast behind this thing. We'll look at temperatures real quick, then we'll look at the GFS, or the European computer model, because it shows a much different story. So this is 174, so we'll go to 174, and like I said, you're going to see an uptick in Arctic outbreaks. You know, it's not going to be above or below average every day, but you'll see some quick Arctic outbreaks with this type of pattern. Now, look at temperatures real quick here, and right around then, you get temperatures in the northern plains here, sub-zero. So very cold up there, and then obviously the rest of the United States, even in Texas, dealing with some 40s potentially down there with a nice big cool down there. Okay, so that's actually Wednesday at 7 p.m., so that's in the middle of the day. Pretty darn cold. So what we're going to do now is look at the GFS, or the European computer model, and what I want to show you here is the difference. You can see this piece of energy on around Sunday night here. It's a lot more impressive out here, even in the West Coast, as we saw. Here it is right there, and it's a little bit more wound up, so this is very key. And as this tracks to the east, you can actually see it's a little bit more wound up. It's a little more impressive. It's not as flat. This is on Tuesday. And you can see that energy kind of sitting out here in the Midwest. So it's a little more impressive, a little tighter circulation, decent punch of positive vorticity advection here in the east, or in the Midwest. And then this is moving into the East Coast. Still pretty wrapped up around Wednesday the 19th or so. Now, let's look at the precipitation. And if you look at the precipitation, this is something we'll have to watch. Again, this is going to change a little bit. The West Coast looks pretty certain, but this is where the uncertainty is. As you get towards Monday, this is the low pressure system in the plains. The upper levels look a lot more impressive for a winter storm. And you can see the low pressure system a little bit farther south. This is towards Wichita and Enid, Oklahoma. So about 150 maybe 50, 100-mile differential between that and the GFS. A little bit farther south, there's a high sitting up here in Canada. And then you got this rain to snow line here. Here's your warm front kind of sitting out here. You can see the rain to snow line is in northern Iowa, southern Wisconsin, out in the Dakotas now. And the energy feed is a little bit quicker. There's a little more energy, a little more moisture a little bit earlier on. So the thing gets organized a little bit quicker, has more cold air. It's a little more wrapped up. And you can see as we head towards Monday afternoon and evening, the winter weather is really looking pretty good towards Colorado, Nebraska, northern Iowa, Wisconsin, into Michigan, with some very heavy snowfall rates, 1 to 2 inches an hour. Obviously, it's pretty far out still to look at that, but it's a very potent little piece of snowfall up here. It's still kind of elongated, but there's more cold air to work with. With this type of energy, it's a little more wound up. So definitely more impressive with that type of look. This thing moves to the east, and a little more warm air starts punching in as it moves to the east coast. That's been a trend this winter as we head towards Tuesday and Wednesday. And you can see that moisture feed starting to really billow up here in the east coast and northwest part of, northeast part of Maine even. So, that looks pretty similar, but the Midwest, that's the big question mark right now. From about Nebraska into the Dakotas, Minnesota, Wisconsin, Iowa, and Illinois. That's going to be our big question mark at the moment. Now, things have been kind of trending a little bit, farther northwest and warmer and not as strong this winter, especially for the east half of the United States. So right now, I'd say the GFS has a little better handle on this. But as for the West Coast, I do think this will be pretty impressive for a big, nice soaking area of rain along the coast, translating to lots of snow and lots of widespread snow for really Northern California, Nevada, Utah, Colorado, Wyoming, Minnesota, and Idaho. Now, obviously, as we get closer, we're going to be making much more detailed updates, so stay tuned for that. Subscribe below. Check out my 10-year radar time-lapse if you haven't checked that out up there. Share this with a friend. Comment below if you've seen snowfall, and hope you have a great day, and we'll see you soon.